Hello and welcome to IMD Industry Insights. I'm Brian Self. Today we'll be speaking with Stu Johnson, Vice President of Product Marketing at Rootstock Software, and today we'll be discussing ERP. Stu, welcome and thanks for being with us. Why don't you get us started by telling us a little bit about yourself and Rootstock?
Thanks for having me. My name is Stu Johnson. I'm Vice President of Product Marketing with Rootstock. I've been in manufacturing for the better part of my 35-year career, starting as actually a design engineer for an aerospace contractor, and then mostly in enterprise software from the CAD, CAM, PDM, and MES, and now ERP. Rootstock is a purpose-built manufacturing ERP solution, natively designed and built on the Salesforce platform. And that really gives us a unique opportunity in today's market. We're cloud first. Very few ERPs were born in the cloud. They've been in the process of transition for the last decade or more. And because we came out on top of this Salesforce platform, we have all of the benefits of the very broad ecosystem, something like 7,000 different app exchange partners. So our manufacturers, who are manufacturers, not IT experts, can build out their IT stack, usually in sort of we almost call it almost a plug and play. I think of the Salesforce platform as a Lego platform, and we just snap components in. And then, of course, there's configuration to get data flows and workflows working. But configuration versus integration, that's the real boon to the market these days.
Especially if you go to a trade show these days, every other booth is ERP. Um, how does Rootstock differentiate themselves from the other slew of ERP that's out there?
Well, the big thing is the manufacturingness. I usually refer to Rootstock as being built on a manufacturing operating system. And what that means is, of course, every ERP needs a financials component. I mean, that's the sort of core of an ERP is managing the books and things. But in a manufacturing ERP, inventory is really the golden thread, right? You have to buy inventory from suppliers, add value to it, and deliver finished goods to customers. And that has all those work orders and operational processes of adding value, manufacturing steps, assembly, test, all those kinds of things. And then, there's a whole supply chain business of keeping track of who can do what, when, why, and how many can they deliver by when. And when you put all of that together, that's how Rootstock was designed. Other ERPs that weren't designed as a manufacturing ERP, they have to go configure all those things. And so when I describe the operating system, I envision all of those work streams being completely intertwined, right? So when we place an order for something, it's because there's a work order on the shop floor, and that order goes into the costing for that product. And you see what I mean? Everything's sort of automatic versus having to be configured and tailored.
Cool. All right. Well, you mentioned how financials are important, and you've got a new what you're calling the winter
Mhm.
release out now, and that's a vast improvement on your financial section. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Surely. In fact, this, as you said, the winter release is really all about financials, and it's the natural progression of our sort of go-to-market strategy. Where in that context of a manufacturing ERP, the biggest challenge manufacturers have is balancing the capacity that they've sold or know they will sell with the demand that they've sold with the capacity that they can produce, all against the backdrop of a sort of disrupted supply chain, or let's just call it uncertain supply chain. Now, that's what a manufacturer does, is balance those three domains. But the balance point, the fulcrum, is financials, right? Because I can easily solve any one of those problems. I can throw more money, get more salespeople, and sell more and create more demand. But if I don't have the money to invest in capacity, buying a plant or a line or a machine, right? It's a very, very delicate balance. If you can imagine a three-sided seesaw, again with financials as the point, because When you're out of balance, your profitability goes and you're losing money, right? And that is the delicate balance. So we're really focused on. We invested in some supplier solutions a couple of years ago. Last year was really about getting our data platform in place because we're preparing for the AI revolution, if you will. So you have to have your data in order, and you have to have it in order for some period of time. And so the natural progression was to make our financials team more productive and give them some love. And I think the way I've characterized this release is, um, you know, uh, quality of life enhancements for the finance team.
You've hit on this some already, but in the current market, why is the financial aspect so important to manufacturers?
Well, I'll tell you, cash flow is everything in a manufacturing facility, right? I mentioned inventory is the golden thread, right? It is also the highest cost. And so a perfect manufacturer is actually like a distributor. Buy raw materials in the morning, ship finished goods in the evening, right? I only have that capital in my possession for the minimum amount of time. And that if you can imagine all the different expenses and all the different places money has to go, if you're not keeping your eye on that, then your profitability goes out the window. And this has been a fundamental challenge, especially for small manufacturers, because they don't have the tools to keep the close eye on where all their costs are. And that's really one of the biggest reasons they come to us, usually to be their second ERP or their sort of grown up ERP, or even just their first move to the cloud, is to have those financials so that they have visibility. I can't tell you how many trade shows I've been at where a C-level executive stops by the booth. They're not interested in a demo. They tell me about your ARAP solution. Tell me about how I can get a dashboard and tell me what's happening in the business today, because they need to make decisions that are going to affect tomorrow. Without that real-time data and without that having your arms around your financial situation, everything is guessing about what happened yesterday, and I'm going to make that decision tomorrow. And that's just not realistic. Well, it is realistic. That's how most of our customers have built their businesses. It's not a model for scale, and that's what really has to happen when you're hitting that scale point. You can't have these things hiding in the corners. Having inventory that sitting on your floor that you don't know where it is, you've paid for it, and if you don't know where it is, you may be paying for it until you find it. Versus, and really, excess inventory is a huge problem, because all of the capital wrapped up in excess inventory could be added to capacity. I could take the pallets that are taking up floor space, get rid of use the floor space to put a new line in and generate revenue on that floor space, versus paying taxes and paying for the cost of money, right? With interest rates as high as they are, that's an unexpected increase in expense that nobody budgets for. Interest rate increases. So it is a delicate balance. I should come up with a new graphic to show how balancing the finance, now balance a cone on top of all those three and try and keep that piece balanced, because it's just as critical of a balance on the finance side as well.
Well, you just touched on this earlier about preparing your data for uh, the AI revolution. Um, what's your view on how it's impacting manufacturing as a whole? And are you seeing a greater interest in customers uh, to learn more about those technologies?
It's interesting, Brian. I've been in this business a long time, and manufacturers are not particularly early adopters. We used to joke all manufacturers are from Missouri, right? The show me state. I need to see it, and there's very much of that that's true. I lived through the industry 4.0 generation, right, where it was all this technology and it was going to save the world, and manufacturers are like, yeah, I'm going to see how it saves my neighbor down the street first. And there was a lot of hype, especially from the analysts looking for something new to talk about. But in the shop floors, they're still worried about all those inventory problems, So the advent of all this data has created a challenge for manufacturers. What am I going to do with all this data? One of my colleagues has the best expression. Now that you've got the truth, can you handle the truth, right? And make data-driven decisions versus, gut feel and experience is how we've done it all these years. Now we're coming in with all this technology, and I get a kick out of the generative AI, craze, right? Chat GPT. We're on Salesforce. They have Einstein GPT. Within months, Einstein GPT. And that's not a really functional use case of AI for ERP. Great for me as a marketer, as a writer, right? I can ask a question in 1 minute, get an answer in 2 minutes, and be done in 5 minutes, where I might have spent 15 to 20 minutes doing the work myself, right? Different in manufacturing, where manufacturing is the predictive AI. And this was going back to the IoT era. The all of that data that was giving me all the predictions was useless without a data scientist to interpret it or to put it into an application that I could discern what to do about it, right? And that's where we are today. I mean, that industry has evolved because AI has evolved as well. But what fascinated me, we did an AI manufacturing survey, an AI in manufacturing survey last year, and I was struck by how far along the respondents were in their understanding of AI, the application of it, and where they were planning to invest. And almost across the board, people were planning to invest in double digits and sometimes in 20 and 30% increase in AI. And here's why. The biggest challenge in manufacturing for decades has been a labor shortage, right? I don't have people to perform the people work. I can buy robots to pick things up and put things down, right? But you need humans to do other parts of the work, and they're just not there. Where AI is going to help, and it based on the survey, people went right to this, is that um, unlike what you hear on the news, they're not afraid that AI is going to take their job, because the jobs AI is best at are the kinds people don't want to do, right? We don't want to pick things up and put things down. So great, give me an AI to drive the robot. But I want to say up in the 50 and 60 percentile range, people saw it as improving their productivity and making them better at their job. And that's all we can really expect. We've got a fairly broad vision of how AI is going to affect our manufacturing customers, and we've packaged it in the AI that matters category, because there's so much AI that sort of doesn't. I'll be honest with you, most of the AI, we've been using AI for a decade without knowing it, right? Somebody just commented about when you're typing an email. I just saw one where an email said, in lieu of a phraseology, I would say this and then that. It even typed in the and that part and set me up for the follow up. So it's that's useful, right? That's handy. It's in place. Well, imagine if you could have that same autocomplete when you're doing a demand planning exercise, or a capacity planning exercise, or a supply chain planning exercise. These are all very predictive things. Planning is an inherently predictive problem. And to date, I mean, we have tools like MRP, Manufacturing Resource Planning, that is effectively a calculation engine, but it's all based on what we know from here back, right? It's all backward-looking information. We're using this supplier because we know they can deliver this, and blah blah blah. What we're looking at is how do we take that and turn that a little bit more forward looking, right? When I choose which supplier should I order from, or what should I have MRP order from, maybe pick the one that's the closest to the delivery date that I'm asking it to, instead of being a week late, right? Which is a non-starter, or even a week early doesn't help me unless I can replan to use that inventory in another capacity, in other capacity, which then you start to see the real power of this. If we apply those same forward-looking constructs for the capacity planner, right? Again, experience and gut feel. I know not to put a long running, order on this machine because it tends to overheat after whatever, right? Only a human knows that, unless you've had it all plumbed up with telemetry and IoT and all that. But we can do all that now. We've got the data, and we have the tools that can discern those patterns in the data. And that's, I think, the really exciting part that people are getting. The problem is manufacturers are not IT or data or data scientists. They look to us to solve those problems for them, and the result will be, I would love to have that was easy, the easy button for planning, right? Now, that was all glib and tongue in cheek because it's a very difficult challenge. But if we could answer some percentage of the questions that planner answers on a day-to-day basis, even better if we can train AI, the machine learning side, to make the decisions based on the pattern that the planner made, then that person's job is a lot more confident. And when they retire, and this is the other problem, I said this across to my product team. Every one of our customers has an expert sitting at that planning station. He's about to retire and take all his gut feel and experience with him, right? And we don't have people to replace them. So now is the time to capture that knowledge for posterity, build it into better and smarter systems. All the pieces are there, Brian. It's just a matter of smart people like us working with our customers, right? Because I don't do capacity planning, so I got to get them to tell me what are the questions you ask, what are the problems you have. That's where I think all the excitement is in this part of the business. And you mentioned, you start off the conversation with, everybody's got an ERP. Well, guess where most of their data for a manufacturer is housed, is in that ERP. Another one of the big challenges that we heard from this survey was the big challenge with data silos, right? We've been talking about data silos since we've had data. And, we all live and die by it, right? I'm going this place for PowerPoints, this place for Word documents, whatever. When you move into a world, first an ERP, right, is sort of an all-encompassing system of record for the business. Put that on a system of engagement like Salesforce, the Salesforce CRM. Now, everything starts with a sale, so it's a natural extension to have CRM front end the ERP side of the business, and we are, intertwined with Salesforce. So a confirmed order in Salesforce turns directly into a sales order in Rootstock, and then automatically adds the material demand to MRP, and so on, right? Again, these are part of the operating system underneath. But that common platform for engagement, where if you've used Salesforce, Salesforce is Salesforce. It looks like Salesforce. When you're in a Rootstock tab of Salesforce, it looks just like the CRM tab of Salesforce. It's a common user experience. So that labor shortage often comes with a skills gap, right? Train them on one application, and you don't have to retrain them across the board. So there's a lot of big value you get from that common platform. Data, right? Data is everywhere. If we can commonize the data, common data model, so it all interacts, and then we can overlay the AI layer on top of our BI layer, the business intelligence layer, right? We all have dashboards, and we take the data and we make charts and graphs. But again, that's all backward looking data. That's what has happened up to today. Once we can get to a more predictive place, back to the finance, we'd like to know what are the paying patterns of our customers, right? What cash flow can we expect in the next quarter or whatever, right? All of these are things that the data is there. We just need to train our systems to take care of it. And it will be the ERP system that's doing all this. AI is just one of the tools, right? I predict that in 5 years, hopefully I'll be retired by then, but that we won't even be talking about AI. It'll be like air, right? It'll be like, typing. So it's just that it's that fast moving. It's that prevalent. I've told my kids, if you have a choice between a job that has AI in it and not AI, take the AI, because that's the future. That was an awful long-winded answer, Brian. I'm sorry.
Well, in the midst of that answer, when you were talking about the upcoming retirees, what popped into my head was Elon Musk's new chip that he's putting in people's heads. So that way you could save all that experience.
Yeah,
Plug it right into your AI and your ERP.
as long as there's a filter so that not all of my experiences are recorded.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Stu, if our main audience is the small to mid-range manufacturer, job shops, that type thing, if they're interested in pursuing Rootstock and of course Salesforce, I guess what's the process, and on average, how long is that process?
Well, the best way is to push the contact us button on the website, right? That's the best, and we get the most incoming interest from our website. So first things first, rootstock.com, lots of content and things to learn about. I might suggest that they attend our Rooted in Manufacturing conference coming up at the end of March, and that's very well displayed on our website. It's more of an industry focus, not just Rootstock. There's a session, there's a channel on Rootstock, but we have some great industry speakers coming to speak to the future of the industry. Um, Beyond that,
Now, is that going to be live or
nope,
virtual or
it's
both?
live. I think
Live.
we've
Okay.
been virtualed out for a while.
I understand. Yep.
And from you asked a question about how long does it take? It's fairly easy to get into a chat with one of our people on the website that can help determine whether we're a good fit and they're a good fit. But we do cater to the small to medium and mid-sized business. That's our bread and butter. Um, and once you get engaged, and our process is really to learn as much about your business as possible, because turns out every manufacturer is different. Who knew? I, for years and years in the software, would love for them to all be the same, but every single one's different because they've grown up differently. And so, we do a rigorous discovery process to get to know them. And it's all about finding the right fit, right? Because, like you said, there are lots of ERPs out there. We aren't the right fit for everybody, but we are a great fit for any company that is looking to first digitize. I can't tell you, when this whole digital transformation term came out, it was all about pie in the sky and change the business models and everything as a service, and it still is. One of my customers actually is a fairly large fire and explosion detection, prevention, and mitigation system. They come out of like an oil derrick, or I think the president's cars have these systems in them. But rather than going into a new order with, you need this many sensors and this many valves and this many shutoffs and this many fire extinguishers, they're going to start their business protection as a service. And this is the future. This is how people are continuously monetizing the business, rather than these capital investments and spikes. Is subscription, right? And I think anybody who's looking to take the next step, if you're making a technology investment, make sure it's a investment for the future. Not Don't go do it the way you did it last year, because most people don't do this but every 10 years. And I can't tell you how many times we get this spreadsheet of, I need these features and functions, and then this person says this is a rated 3 or 4 or 5. Go ahead, do that. You're trying to solve today's problems, right? Tomorrow's problems are the ones that you need to be solving for. And I'll tell you what, jumping onto one of these common platforms like Salesforce, where you only need one IT guy, rather than you need one for CAD, one for CAM, one for ERP, one for whatever. man, just it's all the same user interface. It's all, it's all managed by one full-time equivalent, and that reduces IT burden. And again, I can't say it enough. Manufacturers aren't IT experts. They don't want to be. And if they did, the people to hire, there aren't that many out there, right? You can only find so many. So you really need to choose your battles. And I would choose toward manufacturing, or choose toward a manufacturing focused solution, and not go try to retrofit a generic solution for your manufacturing business.
We really appreciate you taking time to be with us today. And hopefully we can have you back to get an update on how all this AI stuff goes.
Well, yeah, it's going to be fun, and it's going to be fast moving. So hold on to your seat. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks a lot. Thanks to you.